Hennessee, and I'm currently taking English 231, American Literature with Miss Quidair. I'm doing my oral presentation on John Winthrop, a model of Christian charity, who was a Puritan saint. So that's why I'm standing where I am. I'm actually in Landmark Baptist Church in Gastonia, where my dad's a pastor. So, Winthrop was born January 22nd of 1588 in Suffolk, England, to an aristocrat. This put him in a higher standard society, where he later went to Trinity College at Cambridge and studied to be a lawyer, and eventually went on to be Justice of the Peace and obtain government office. But at age 17, he married his first wife, Mary IV, and they later had his first of 16 children. From 1627 to 1629, he served Justice of the Peace and a government office, and was also attorney of the Court of Wards and Liveries. Later in the year of 1630, though, Charles I started his tyranny of Christians and Puritans. Winthrop was a devoted Puritan and saw this as a direct attack against him and his community. He believed in the selectivism of the Puritan teachings and thought of himself as a selected few who were chosen to be part of the sainthood. So, as a result of this, Winthrop sailed west on the Arbella in the spring of 1630. He composed a lay sermon, a model of Christian charity, in which he pictured the Massachusetts colonists in covenant with God and with each other, divinely ordained to build a city upon a hill in New England with the eyes of all people on them. What I'm about to read is an excerpt from this, a model of Christian charity. If we deal falsely with our God and His Word, we have undertaken, and so cause Him to withdraw His present help from us, we shall be made a story and a byword throughout the world. We shall open the mouths of enemies to speak evil of the ways of God and all believers in God. We shall shame the faces of many of God's worthy servants and cause their prayers to be turned into curses upon us, till we are forced out of the new land where we are going. Some critics have seen Winthrop as a visionary utopian trying to make a pure and whole society, but others see him as just a social revolutionary. But his most important job that he did in Massachusetts was to set up a group discipline, but an individual responsibility kind of working system in the Massachusetts colony, which catapulted this colony into its lasting success that we know it today. Winthrop later went on for the remaining 19 years of his life to serve as a governor and head figure in the Massachusetts colony. He served 12 years of the last 19 years of his life as governor of the colony, and in between years he served on the he served as a governor of the courts and was part of most of the decisions made in the colony. Later, though, in the colony's years as it progressed, more people would come and they would not necessarily agree with the system that Winthrop had set up. So opposition obviously came, with Winthrop having one of his most outrageous oppositions coming against him with Anne Hutchinson, who took over his church in Boston in 1636. This outraged him because she was a woman, and they considered women in this time to be mere women in the Puritan community. However, she became head of this church. Winthrop considered her teaching blasphemous and took her before the courts. He eventually won, and he wrote many things in his journals about this because he saw it as a victory for himself. But this just shows how outrageous this attack was against him in his own eyes. Later in Hutchinson's life, he gloriously noted the tragic events that happened to her towards the end of her life. She had a deformed baby and was murdered by the Indians, and used this to show proof of God's judgment against heretics. Winthrop was a respected and loved person of the Massachusetts colony, though he was not seen as a petty tyrant. He was just doing what he thought was right, and he used his views in his faith to make a colony in the early American time, and in many ways it's worked, and it helped to further the advancement of the Massachusetts colony. And at age 61, he died with a feverish illness. So in conclusion, John Winthrop had a great impact on the early colonies of this time, and his rules are still rules and views are still used today in American morals. Not as much as in this time, but some of the standards that we have set for our ways of life we have now are seen through the ways that John Winthrop set up his colony in Massachusetts. So thank you for listening, and have a good day.